Can you give me a countdown? Oh, fine.
Hey everybody, welcome. This is Wholesaling 101. I am glad you're here. It is going to be an amazing class today. So please get in the door, set down your backpacks, take a seat because class is in session. Today is going to be amazing. Just in case you don't know me, my name is Corey Ann. I am an agent and a wholesaler, and I happen to be here with two of my favorite people. Hey Benson, I'm going to kick it off with you. How are you doing today?
I am so good. I am just so stoked to be here. Thank you for having me. I got my new mug. I just got this morning.
Really?
I was on with a call yesterday with Andy Wrong, and he was drinking out of this really cool cup, and I was drinking out of a plastic crappy thing. And I'm like, I need to step my game up. So I went to ARC this morning and got this amazing steel cup. And I'm rocking it.
Nice. Wow. I love that kind of commitment to changing your life. Like yesterday, you're like, no, this is not enough. Today, you've flipped a 180. You've shown up.
Yes. The 18-year-old showed me up, man. He stepped it up. I'm like, I want to be like him.
Me too. Absolutely. Yeah. And everybody, you know me, you know Benson, but we have an amazing guest today. This is the beautiful Renee. I've been blasting all over social media today how amazing she is and how much fun we have together and how she's somebody I take notes from all the time. And guys, she's been in the business now for 18 years and in the SoCal market, which you're always asking about the SoCal market. And I'm always going, so we brought you the specialist. So I hope you're in the chat and you're going to be dropping some questions and telling us what's going on.
I love
Hi,
that.
Renee. Welcome.
Hello, Benson, Corey Ann. I mean, what a better way to spend my afternoon and my lunch hour. It's high noon here in the Pacific Coast, Los Angeles to be specific. Yes, you said SoCal. And so I live in the city of Angels. So crazy city of Los Angeles, which of course there's lots of drama and traumas all over the United States about California, but I'm going to bring the positivity today. So for sure, especially regarding real estate.
I'm so glad. We're first going to see who is here in class today. I hope you're sounding off. Let us know what market you're in. And if you'll drop me a 1 if you've never done a deal before. I always like to see who the newbies are because that day will change. And I want somebody to drop me a 2 if you've gotten your first deal done. I'm watching. I'm always keeping track. And we've seen a lot of people be going under contract and learning from this place. So we're happy to have you here, Renee. You're going to bring so much to the table.
I'm excited. I see some 1s coming in. And guys, we all start somewhere. You know, way back in 2005, I got licensed. Some of you might not have even been born at that point. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm aging backwards. That's what we do here in LA, right? So 2005, I was involved in real estate prior to that, but got my license in 2005. I've primarily operated in LA County and throughout Southern California, but you got to start somewhere, guys. You got to start somewhere. So be proud that you're putting a 1 in there. Don't be shy. Let's see it from everybody.
You guys pipe up for sure because Renee is probably going to talk a little bit over your head. Honestly, she does it to me sometimes where I'm like, whoa, she's so smart. So make sure you're catching those words that you need definitions for, asking questions as we go through this whole process. And we're going to be doing it with our favorite software. Benson's here. He's going to show us the way we're using Privy to find our deals in the LA market. And if you don't have Privy, guys, I highly suggest it. Renee and I are both agents and both utilize Privy to find and access so much data in terms of the deals we're after. And today we're going to walk through that whole process. If you don't have it, it would be great to pull it up now. Go get it. And we've got the last name, the best last name, Damg. And if you use that as a code, you're going to get 30% off the annual plan or 20% off your first month. So please go do that so you can follow along. And let's jump right into this resource and show them at least where we're going to be.
So we're doing SoCal, right?
Let's do SoCal. Wait a minute. I
lived there for a while. I lived in SoCal for a year. Actually, no, 4 years. When? 4 years.
Mid-City, I think, if I remember correctly.
Close, yeah. It was like Hancock Park, like West Hollywood area.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a good neighborhood. I actually live in Hollywood. I lived in Hollywood for 23 years, thereabouts. I just moved on the other side of the hill, but
Ooh,
Yes, right in the center
nice.
of the city. Yeah, it's fun.
I
All
fell
right.
in love with cities via like all things LA because I'd go every summer to visit my aunt. I love the place. And I fell in love with cities and now live in the middle of nowhere. My husband had to drive 45 minutes today to get me my Starbucks, guys.
Oh my gosh.
And that's
What?
just there. So,
45 minutes. But Corianne lives in a gorgeous, gorgeous space in the middle of nowhere. You know, grass is always greener. I live in the middle of chaos, and Corianne, you know, sends these pictures on her Instagram with these gorgeous, you know, look like they're, you know, what is it, the virtual background, right? I mean, you don't want to see my virtual background. It's tents and broken down cars.
oh, I want to see that
Jeez.
tangerine you can pull right off the tree.
Oh, I know. Listen, guys, it was 77 degrees the other day when the rest of the country was freezing. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and there's a beautiful, well, citrus is in session right now. So there's lemons and tangerines and all kinds of stuff on the tree. So I just go for a walk out my door and I pick fruit off the tree, and I probably eat like 10 tangerines, and that's my dinner. So I jokingly say, with the taxes that are high here in California, and everybody likes to poo-poo on them, that I pay weather tax. That's what I pay to enjoy that. Anyway, let's get into it.
Yeah, show us what we're looking at, Benson.
Well, you know, we're going to be looking at Southern California today, and that's one of the markets that we do have direct to MLS data. We worked really hard with CRMLS to get that data inside of Privy so that you guys could have access to it. Now, it's not the same data that Renee uses. It's slightly different. It's the raw data. So we bring that data in and we curate it. We make it actionable and useful for real estate investing. Different than what the MLS does. Our MLS access, all of ours is not the same as what Privy is. We have to change the data in a way to make it useful, and that's part of the way that we can do it, because not anybody can just have access to that data in software, different software programs. Where everywhere else on the map where you see blue is also markets where we've got direct to MLS data, and we've done that for you guys in over 100 markets, and we've got a bunch of new markets coming. We just added Alabama, and we've got some more markets that we're working on. So anywhere you see pink or red is where we are negotiating or, you know, working the compliance angle of it. So those are markets where you're going to have the top tier data. Can you still go look for deals in Wyoming? Yeah, you can find deals in Wyoming. You still use Privy in Wyoming. It's going to be almost like if you were using like a prop stream or like a batch leads. It's a different data set. It's just not as rich as the blue areas. But if we look at SoCal, one of the things that we like to use when we look at a market is investor activity to figure out, well, where should we be looking for deals? And as a wholesaler, you want to be looking for deals where there's demand for deals, right? Because we're thinking, okay, if I find a house, is there's going to be somebody on the back end of this transaction that I can disposition that property to? And so this neat little button right here that says fix and flip, if I click that, that plots on the map where all the fix and flip activity is nationwide. And in this particular area, we can see there's certain areas that are hotter than others. So you want to focus in on areas where you have larger circles and high numbers. And Renee's going to walk us around this market. And so is some of the places that she knows are active and hot.
Yeah, I love it. Are we going to drill down?
Yeah.
So do we want to go into a market that you're familiar with, Renee, or should we just kind of look at where the data is guiding us?
Well, let's put our hat on of the viewer. So let's look at the data where the data is guiding us.
Cool. So we zoomed in a little bit more, and you can see that there's different pockets of areas that have, you know, more activity than others. 503, that pops right out. And that's one of the cool things about the ones in this area that we put in, you guys, is like, if you're newer, a lot of data can be scary, right? It's like, oh my gosh, data, like I can barely operate my cell phone, let alone use data to operate my business, right? It can be a little frightening, but we make it pretty visual. So you can just really just click the cluster. It'll drill you down into that market. And then you can see, okay, well, specific neighborhoods within the greater Los Angeles area are hotter than others. And it's leading us right into this area right here, where this is Inglewood. USC's right up here. Am I right? Renee? And then this is where like SoFi Stadium is. There's lots of, you know, fix and flip activity here. These are the kinds of areas you want to operate in.
And what's brilliant about this data, so I'll just speak from experience, right? Because there's data and essentially the data doesn't lie. Right? That's a catchphrase. And just speaking from my experience, not only of living here, I've lived in Los Angeles for, I think it's like 24 years now, something like that. I don't count necessarily. But of the time I've been an agent, let's say 18 years, that I know in my mind where the hot spots are. And that is just because of where my attention goes. Now, I'm not like a regular agent in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a huge county. It is the size of Portugal, I've been told. Small country, right? But that's the size of LA. You can drive 45 minutes, no traffic, north, 45 minutes south, and you're still in the same county. But because I chose investors as my niche very early on, I did a lot of business in 2007, 8, 9, 10, in that down market. And they were all investors buying this. So it took me all over Los Angeles. So you talk to 10 different agents in Los Angeles, you're going to get 10 different answers. They're going to go, yeah, that's where the investors are. But if they're, a West Side agent, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, they don't want to go past the 405. They want to stay in their neighborhood. They want to be a local area specialist. I became a property specialist. I became an investor specialist. So that was something that interested me. So back to, even though we're looking at the data, I know this to be true in my mind. So I'm fact checking my gut. I'm fact checking my experience of this. So that's what I appreciate about a program like Privy, because I know what I know intuitively, and then I get to look at the data and it backs it up. So guys, with confidence, you can get Privy, look at it, and you don't even have to take my word for it. You can go, boom, right, look at the numbers and just drill down there. Drill down on these neighborhoods. Don't go on the West Side and try to be fancy. Drill down on these neighborhoods that are going to get you paid. And that's where the investors are doing projects.
I was in a conversation with an agent today, not this market, but he was pulling comps from a mile. And I was like, no, I want to look at a half mile. And I told him, and I kind of pulled the comps direct off Privy. And I talked him into putting down an offer that was 100K less than what he thought based off of just those numbers because of the neighborhood. I was like, that's great. If it's across the highway, that's great. It's sold for that, but I can't use that as data. And your buyer's not going to want to. So just the fact that you can really get into the nitty gritty here makes you smarter.
It does. And I jokingly say a town like LA, again, I'm only speaking about Los Angeles because that's the topic, right? So you fill in the blanks for wherever you are on this call. But a city like Los Angeles, I jokingly say it's a bunch of different neighborhoods trying to be a city. It really is. Yes, we have a downtown, but it's not like a downtown that people go to and come home from. It's not a commuter type of a downtown. It's a neighborhood. And a program like this is imperative on top of your own personal knowledge. Don't just get lazy on data, guys. You've got to know your neighborhoods. Get in here, drive around, go on Google Earth if you're doing this virtually, and understand what you're looking at. Because yes, as Corianne said, that's an appraisal rule. We don't want to cross a main drag. Okay, that's what an appraisal is going to look at. However, sometimes even for me, it's across the street. It's very odd. Benson, you lived in kind of mid-city, right? You said Hancock Park. So Hancock Park is what the original Beverly Hills was back in the day. And right across the street is Koreatown, which is a bunch of high rises and apartment buildings. So yeah, if you go within a block, you're going to be off. So please use the data. And then also, guys, if you want to be in wholesaling, you want to be a real estate agent, you want to be in the game of real estate, you must know your market. And that is get out and look at properties. Again, if you're doing this virtually on Google Earth or boots on the ground, or just straight up get in your car and drive around and look at neighborhoods, that's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah. And this is already starting to show a little bit of the picture. I know somebody popped in here, G Brown, and asked, is it possible as a beginner to step into wholesaling and make a living of it out in the LA area? What's your read on that, Renee?
It is. The thing about whether you're going to be a wholesaler or an agent, either of the two, you've got to have confidence. Okay. So you know thyself in any market, know thyself. It's a little more relentless here. The agents are on point. They do not give you a lot of leeway. So if you're going to be speaking and doing what Jamil teaches, which is direct to agent, be it on or off market, calling the agent, make sure that even if you feel nervous, it's okay, guys. If you put a 1 in there and you're brand new or you haven't done anything, it's okay. There's another area of your life that you're confident. Tap into that. And when you pick up the phone, admit that? So the answer is yes, but you've got to come with your confidence, just not the knowledge.
Yeah, and this is giving some data to start you off in that direction. So what kind of breakdown for the basic beginner, what all of this data is and why it's so awesome, Benson?
Well, Renee nailed it when she says you got to come off confident. You don't have to know everything you're talking about to have confidence. And that's where I think the data is so powerful, because we can look at a house like this, and let's say we were going to call an agent, maybe the listing agent, or maybe we're going to call some buyers in the area. We can leverage the data that's in this comparative market analysis. This CMA, by the way, it's automatically built for all properties. It automatically shows you all the sold data, all the sold comps, like not just houses in the area or just general activity, but the actual comparables, because that can be difficult to understand, and especially when you're newer, and or if it's in a virtual market. Under contract, pending, active comparables, and newer. Renee, I don't know if you've seen this, but we have rental comps inside of Privy now.
I love it.
So we have the blue ones are the comps that come, the rental comps from the MLS, and then the ones that are orange come from our proprietary source, and that's all sourced from property management companies. So you can see what actual properties are renting out for that were that were listed by property management companies. So you can see the actual photos, and it can help you understand, okay, well, this house that's going for 40 something hundred a month is kind of rental grade, right? It's got older tile countertops and backsplash. It's $4,500 a month. That's a different market than where we're at, right, Corianne?
Definitely. Absolutely. So you've got to know those kinds of things coming in. But even if, let's say I was to jump on a phone right now with somebody to have a conversation about this being a rental, and I have all of those rentals in front of me, I'll know whether we're getting close to, the right kind of conversation. I'm curious, Renee, is the general 1% rule on rentals even a thing in somewhere like Los Angeles?
I'm just going to say yes for now, because I run that through my own mental filter. So I don't make it too difficult for myself. If I just know something is completely off kilter for an investor, then I know, okay, well, that's for the retail crowd. Because I think in both directions, right? I'm thinking like, what would an investor want? And then what would a regular retail number be, right? This $4,500 or something like that. And then you back it out, right? Because it's how much are they going to buy the property for? And how much do they have to upgrade and all the things? By the way, Benson, this is brilliant. So I'm assuming this takes place for the rentometer and having to log on 3-4 tabs open, all that stuff. It's just right here.
It's all right here. And we use the same kind of comping criteria for rentals as we do for sales comps, except for we match beds and baths, because those are some of the most important things. And then it's also too, we show you the different ranges. Now that's all adjustable. You can come into the settings right here and you can adjust, what type of comps you're looking at. But it's all automatic. So somebody in the chat was just saying, well, I'm not good with numbers. That's totally okay. Most of us aren't. Some of us are, have experience with it, and it's just reps, right? So just practice, get in here. The system does the majority of the heavy lift for you, and then builds this comparative market analysis. So, just look at lots of sales, lots of properties, like Renee said, in person. Look at lots of sold properties, fix and flips mostly, so you can understand what a deal looks like. And you can start to understand what a deal is in your target market. So this house right here, you can see it was, not pretty, right? It was pretty, messed up, and, it wasn't nice at all, but that's the kind of opportunity there. But they paid $910,000 for that house.
That's a great deal in that neighborhood, Westchester. I've sold in that neighborhood, and that's over by the airport. There's nothing under $1 million in Westchester. So that was a deal. They did well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can measure the 65%, right? To put it in like a percentage margin there, 65%. And they sold it for 1.4 after they'd renovated it. And then you get to look at the photos on the right side to see, what is the kind of renovation that is adequate that buyers want in Westchester. And then you can see where the bar has been set.
Yeah, this is brilliant. And to the person that said, something regarding the data, and I don't know, That's okay. Thank you for being vulnerable and saying that, even if it was in the chat. Lean on people that are willing to take you under their wing. You know, I'm here. I'm in Southern California. Whether you're here or whether you want to be in this market, I'm very generous. You know, I ask that you do your homework. Do not lob something in my direction and I'm going to do everything for you. That's not fair to the person you're asking of their time. But if you have hit a wall and you don't know what you're doing, of course, at the end of this call, I'll put up my contact information. Reach out to me. You know, guys, like I said, we all started somewhere, and there's a lot of agents that will not give you the time of day in this town. They barely give me the time of the day, and I'm basically a peer. So don't let that scare you. Find people that are going to bring you in and help you, and this is how it goes. Because at the end of the day, real estate is a relationship-based business, and you guys a lot of time are operating like you're, you know, a lone wolf, and you won't get far fast doing that. So please don't, you know, be prideful and ask for help. And I'm putting that out there as an invitation for somebody who's in this market, all of Southern California, not just, I live in Los Angeles, but I work all of SoCal. So please, you know, hit me up.
And that same person, I'm glad you jumped on that with Mona, because I think a lot of people come in here into real estate in general, into wholesaling, and they go, I have to know the numbers. I am here to now be a mathematician. And that's kind of how I came in. I'm an artist. Like, I came in and all of a sudden I was like, this is a new world. I've got to figure out how to calculate. Like, I literally have a giant calculator next to me all the time. So to some extent, there are numbers involved here. But if that's not your first strong suit in regards to numbers, I want to remind you, this is so social. This is absolutely a social game. And that's where I realized my superpower was in this game, is getting to know all the players, who's ACK, who's dispo, what sellers need what agents need this. And so lean into that if that's already your superpower, because what you're going to do is you're going to reach out to Renee. Renee's going to be like, I love this girl. She's the best. And then she's going to start to give you some of her secrets, and you're going to be able to utilize those. And what's most important when somebody's giving you those secrets is go do the work. Do it after they share those things. And you'll see yourself start to succeed. But these numbers are already doing the math for you, which is awesome. Yeah, break it down for us, because somebody asked,
yeah,
what
I
is
wanted
that?
to show you. Yeah. So this is just like my my computer calculator. Everybody who has a computer has this calculator on there. And if it's not on like the dashboard, just go and do a quick search and just type in calculator. It'll pop up. And I pinned it to the bottom of my screen, so it's always available. But the 65%, Mona, is basically, it's this what they bought it for, so 910,000 divided by what they sold it for, which is 1.4 million. So that math will, because that's the number on top is smaller, it will turn into a percentage. So that'll give us a number that's smaller than 1. So we click that, it gives us 64%. So we rounded it up because it's 64.5%. So every market's different. And this is one of the things that you can learn from Privy, is what is the deal in LA versus Chicago versus Philadelphia versus Tampa. That percentage is different everywhere. The higher the price point, like Los Angeles, the higher the percentage will be that will be adequate for the demand. So the buyers out there will buy up to, Renee, 75%?
Probably. Yeah, I think, yeah, generally speaking.
That percentage would never fly in Chicago or Philly.
Right.
The way you know that is by looking at these sold deals. And after looking at a handful of deals in your market, you'll start to understand where that middle ground is. So 65%. So that's how you start to figure out what a deal is in your market, and that'll help to educate you. Excuse me. And that'll start to give you more confidence in your numbers. That's basically what these numbers mean.
Can I give a little trade secret on that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I do, guys. So you want to take the data, like Benson's saying, the raw data, okay? And this takes a little manual effort. So just be patient. Not everything is press a button and it all shows up, okay? So you want to take you literally want to log into Privy, and you want to look at an area. So pick a neighborhood, let's say you want to look at an area, and start clicking around in there for the ones that have been the flipped properties, or even some of the solds that weren't flipped, but let's say the flipped properties in particular, and take an Excel spreadsheet, open up an Excel spreadsheet, and then actually manually transfer. Or maybe, I don't know, Benson, there's probably an easier way, but just let me say how I do it, So then you want to create an Excel spreadsheet for those properties. And so what you're going to do is, after you have maybe say 20 in a neighborhood, if there are that many, Then you pan out and you look and you say, huh, in this little neighborhood, this sort of like center city-ish neighborhood that's across the freeway from downtown, but next to Inglewood. So it's a very specific little neighborhood because things are bracketed by freeways around here. You go, aha. So they are buying at 65%, at 70%. That, you guys, is how you get good. You cannot come into Los Angeles and say Los Angeles is, 75%. I mean, for the sake of this conversation, that's what Benson was asking me, right? But you saw I paused because I go right to, well, 45 minutes north of here is not this neighborhood, and they will not buy it for that in that neighborhood. But if I just come in hot into LA, I want to go in LA, I want to make the big wholesale spreads. This is how I'm going to roll. You'll never get your offers accepted if you don't understand the micro markets. So turn off Netflix, turn on Privy, and do this homework, because 18 years later, I still do this. Why? Because it shifts. It shifts every quarter, every 6 months, thereabouts. You don't have to do it every week, but you sit down, you take a good 3-4 hours, and you do that in the neighborhoods that you are working. And with confidence, when you go and you write an offer, you put in an offer, you can say in your mind, I cannot go above X. I can't go above 70% in this neighborhood because it's never going to get accepted. That right there is efficiency of time. So please, if you've heard anything I've said, take that and run with it and continue on down the road professionally regarding it. But Benson, you probably know how to do it an easier way. I've been doing it manually. Is there a way to download it?
It's very similar, but you can download this into a CSV right from this button.
But that's all of them, though, because I was saying like the ones that are just the flips, right? Is there a way to do that? Highlight
these
those?
are just the flips.
Oh,
so when I click this button right here,
right,
that goes in and it looks at all the houses that were purchased, fixed up, and sold, and they got them lower than 75%.
Right. Okay.
So this button is a filter that's zeroing in on houses that are likely flips, because we both know, and Corianne same way, that there's no like tag that the MLS puts in there or that's in public records that tells us that a house is definitively a flip. We have to infer that it is based off of the increase in value.
Yeah.
And that's good to know really quick, because I get really granular. So maybe what to do is, download it as Benson's showing it. So it'll download everything in the CSV, and then run your eye across these, like run it across, because not every one of them is a flip. And sometimes they look like they've not been flipped. So you want to get, that good. You want to get that granular, but to start, just do it that way. So you get a sense of what the percentage is. Because does it give you the percentage when you download it though? In the download?
It actually doesn't right now, unfortunately. Okay. We're talking to our team about adding more of that data into the download, but once it's downloaded, then you can add a field there and just go in and just plop in those percentages, and then you could do like a mean or an average at the bottom. So a little bit less work, but I would say, you guys too, like, don't try to do everything using AI and everything automated and everything with algorithms. Like, there is a valuable lesson that you get by doing these in a one-on-one basis, like one property at a time. That exercise is extremely valuable, to look through the numbers and see the photos and look at the neighborhoods and looking to see who the buyer was that flipped it and who was the agent and all that kind of info as you're looking at it in real time. It's experiential. And if you've ever heard of experiential learning, you learn better when you experience something rather than just like reading it or viewing it. And so I think it's worth the exercise.
That is so key, Benson. And thank you for saying that, because just the other day I was talking to another realtor colleague of mine, and I don't go in the really high end. I just don't. There's only so many hours in the day. When I say really high end, what is that around in LA? Is like $5 million and above, $10 million and above. And every now and again, I'll trip over something that's in that echelon, and I don't walk in that world. So I call a colleague that does. Guys, back to, knowing agents, relationships. This is a relationship-based business. So I call my buddy Stefan, and I'm like, hey, Stefan, this house on this street. And, he starts rattling off to me, oh, it's around the bend, 3 houses down from, that one. No, there's no view. There's no view. So it's not a $10 million house. That you will never get off AI. Yep. So please, if you're going to be in this business, I really implore you to get out and do the work and shake hands, kiss babies kind of thing, because the agents will respect that. And if you are coming into a more expensive market, whether it's SoCal or Chicago, maybe some in New York, New Jersey, the agents will expect it. And why I'm spilling the tea on this is no one's ever going to tell you this. You know what they're going to do? And I hate to sound, like this is kind of crass, but they're going to think that you sound like an idiot and they're going to hang up, and they don't want to do business with you. And that's just how it goes. So make sure that you have your confidence and you have your knowledge, and it's going to go far, because if you have that, at least we will give you leeway. We will listen. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, this person's trying, but don't, flex your head and come into a market that you don't know much about, because I'm still learning. I look from my buddy Stefan. I can't keep up with that. He knows every single house in Pacific Palisades. That's why I call him. So again, make sure you lean on the people that you want to resource.
I was going to say that kind of ties directly back to having a resource, because for a lot of our newbies here, and we've got plenty, and you're after your first deal, what you just said, like, it hits. You're like, yeah, exactly. That's my deepest fear, is that I sound like an idiot and they hang up on me. Like,
I called it.
No,
Yeah,
you called it. But how do you get around that as a newbie? Is when you're approaching, you're honest. Hey, I'm relatively new here. I'm right now looking for my first jump on a deal with a partner who does a lot every month. And so do you think, this could be the right one for me? Because I'm seeing comps that are like this and blah, blah, blah. And you have that honest conversation, and your out is the fact that you are not the decision maker. You're there to align with the person you're on the phone, and utilize Renee. Go find her, utilize her. She wants to make money with you. I mean, you want to make some money, right, Renee? With all these
money's fun. Money does buy some fun things. Yeah.
So,
I welcome it.
And it sounds like in some of these big places like LA, like just the box that you have us in right now, like that sounds like enough that you could learn and chew off of for a good week at least, to try to figure out that neck of the wood.
Yeah, there's places of LA that I don't go to often, which is further south, like near Long Beach or the beach towns. I have to go in there and do my homework. So one of the reasons I'm saying this is because, on one hand, I'm very experienced and I have a lot to offer, and I'm always willing to share. And on another hand, we're all just human beings. We only have so many hours in the day. So just, again, I go back to utilize your resources. I call up agents down in what's called the South Bay. That's down in that area in the South Bay. And I'll say that, hey guys, I'm up in this area. I primarily work mid-city and Hollywood. I'm unfamiliar with this particular part of Redondo Beach or Huntington Beach or Long Beach. And I really just wanted to ask your opinion, because I know that you're the expert. See what I mean? All it takes is a little bit of stroke of the ego and some niceties. And then I always end the call with, I really appreciate your time. You and I may or may not ever do business together, but I'm going to keep your number because I'm up here. And should there ever be a referral, I'm happy to be a resource. Because there's one thing about agents, they get lazy. They will not travel very far out of their sphere. So I'm unusual. I have a car, I will get in it and I will drive. But most people don't want to do that. So always leave with, how can I help you? What do you need help with? What can I take off of your plate? I'm telling you, people don't do it. But if you do that, if you called me and said that, how can I help you and what can I take off your plate? I might fall over in my chair. And I definitely will remember you, because no one talks like that. Everyone's out for themselves.
What can I take off your plate?
Yeah.
You guys, if you're not taking notes right now, you're in the wrong place. Like, Renee is dropping nuggets right now, and we're getting a very unique look into the mind of somebody who's on both sides of the fence. Renee is an investor, and she's also a seasoned agent. And what she's telling you is probably stuff that she's gonna get in trouble for telling you. Like, she's, peeling back the curtain and showing you some things. And the agent world is almost like a good old boy network. Am I wrong, Renee?
Yes, very much so. Especially the seasoned agents. We don't put up with too much. Yeah.
Right. Especially the seasoned agents. So you're going to have to work harder to find someone like Renee to work with you. You're going to have to make more calls, you have to put more work in and do more reps. There are other agents out there that are newer, who are willing to have a little bit more leeway. You could probably teach them a few things, honestly. Most agents don't understand the real estate world, even seasoned agents. So there's a balancing act here. So don't be scared to call and talk to agents. And if you get, the cold shoulder from an agent or two, then you're making the reps. Like, expect it to happen. It's going to happen. and just plan for it. Let it roll off your back and call the next agent. And then, start to build those relationships. And you may not be able to get what you want out of the first time you talk to them too. If you get a cold shoulder the first time, read what's happening. Are they trying to get off the phone? If they are, let them off. Don't keep them on the phone. Let them off the phone and be like, hey, listen, it sounds like you're in the middle of something. Is it okay if I reach out to you next week? And that might help. I'm not sure, Renee. Is that something that you'd be open to?
I say it every time. It sounds like I caught you in the middle of something. And then people will tell you yes or no. They will.
Mm-hmm.
So ask permission to talk to people. Don't ask for what it is that you want. Ask how you can be of service. Consider that you're creating a relationship. What's a relationship? A relationship is kind of like dating, right? Everybody on here has probably been on a date at least once in their life. And so what does that look like? You're not all the way to third base. You're starting at first base. So, start there. And the adage about business, no matter what wheelhouse you're in, is the fortune is in the follow-up. And this takes time. The one thing about real estate, it is not a get-rich-quick business. The television makes it look like it's a get-rich-quick business. It is not. It's all the unsexy things that I still do all these years later. Make my calls, do the reps. And guess what? If you're going to pretend like you're going to hire VAs to make all your calls and do that, it's a colossal flop. You need to know how to talk to people before you can train them how to talk to people. It just doesn't work. Even Jamel says that very often. So please put in the reps. It matters, and it will pay off in spades later down the road.
Absolutely. And for those that are out there doing all of this virtually and on the phone, you do this by asking permission to be on the phone with the other person and take their time. And you also create those connections based off of the tone and what you bring. If I'm on the phone with somebody and they're like, I'm in the hospital with my husband, I go, I'm so sorry, I'll let you go. And I text them in 2 days and I ask how their husband's doing. And those kinds of things are the ways that you create those connections. And it's a slow drip, just like Renee says, but this allows you access into seeing who's the players, who do I call, how do I look at these numbers, how do I start these conversations? So if you don't have Privy, I highly suggest it. And Jamil just dropped it. Damji is the last name. And if you utilize that, you're going to get 30% off the annual plan or 20% off your first month. So go grab this awesome resource. What do you guys think about jumping over to this address that got dropped to us and going a little rogue?
Ooh, I'm excited. Yeah.
Is it in LA?
It is in LA. 1260. Well, somewhere in LA. 1261 West 80th Street.
Yeah, that sounds like LA. That's right in this neighborhood, most likely.
I had to ask. I was like, is that LA in the chat? And come to find out it is.
There we go.
All right.
Let's comp it.
So it's interesting to see this.
It's in that
It'd be
neighborhood.
interesting to know what the story is with this, because it looks like it's currently off market. It closed recently, just a few weeks ago.
Wow.
This is probably going to be a fix and flip. Would you agree, Renee?
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, it doesn't look horrible. I mean, besides, carpet and paint, and then probably a new kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
That neighborhood doesn't really demand super high-end finishes. So if somebody came in and did a real bang-up job, it would even move more quickly. Nice layout, though. 1920s house. Oh, 30s. Okay, I guessed it. 20s, 30s Spanish. Yeah.
Does it show who it sold to already? Is that popping up? Because if I see something that just sold within this month that's ugly like that and it has an LLC name, I'm going, that could be a buyer I could talk to. But it's not.
Yeah, it looks like Carlos bought it.
Mm.
So Carlos bought it. But here's the first thing that I noticed when we look at this. Look at all these flips that are comps.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so you guys, that's one of the things that is proprietary to Privy that will be hugely beneficial to you, is the ability to see the other flips in the neighborhood. The view we were just on with all the red properties in the area, those are all the flips, right? So we could see those on their own. When you type in the property address of a house you want to evaluate, it will still show you those houses as long as they're comparables, but it shows them in the comp table. And then we show you what they bought it for, the 510, and we show you what they sold it for. So you can see that we're identifying those as potential flips. And the goal as a wholesaler is to understand what the after repair value of the house is that you're evaluating. So the potential after repair value for this house that they bought for 650 is going to be between 895 and 940,000. Those are the two ranges. And, there's, well, this is interesting. The one that went for 895 is a 4.3, and the one that went for 940 is a 3.2. So
I wonder
I'm
if that's
sure
you
Renee,
related.
Yeah, I'd have to look a little deeper. Well, they added a bedroom, so that's interesting on the one on 80th. And you know what's so cool about looking at this, guys, is man, we are so blessed with this kind of data. When I started, it was barely up from, paper and pencil. So I look at this and I still get wowed by it. So I'm kind of a geek that way. But where you could see the percentages, right? We already said this because Benson lived in LA, so he knows some percentages, plus this is his product. And so we saw there was about 72% across the board, right? So it's just reiterating doing it manually is how I was talking about it earlier, like using this data, extracting it, looking out, wide-eyed kind of, okay, yeah, 69, 72, all the things. But where it gets really challenging is there's not as many flips in maybe that next section over, right? The next neighborhood over or across the freeway over. So, get excited, don't get excited. Don't be like, oh, well, cool. We just pulled this little neighborhood. Now I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to go into privy. Please, again, heed my call about what I said, doing these little micro markets. And that's the exact reiteration that I would know. About 72%. I would also know that it needs to get purchased in the 5 or 6. And I know this neighborhood is not above $1 million. So all the data is, I know that in my mind because of living here and because of doing this. It's just the experience. And the data says so. So that I believe will build, you guys' confidence, no matter what market you're in. Just it'll build your confidence to do it manually, and then you can kind of go fact check it with Privy as well at the same time.
This looks like
this one's interesting. They bought this from the MLS at 76%, so a little bit higher than what we're seeing. The subject property that we saw that was bought for 640 is at 72%. This one here is 4% higher. So there's still a room here. This could actually be a wholesale deal.
Yeah.
That would be
especially
very
to this potential buyer. So the company that flipped this one is C Squared Property Group. They're willing to go a little bit higher on the percentage of ARV in the right situation.
So if I was the buyer of the property that we're comping, our subject property, and I just bought it this month at, what was it, like 650, 640? And I called up this particular buyer and I said, hey, is this something you'd be interested in at 710? That's a solid little walkaway price for a wholesaler.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, very interesting property. We very quickly found a lot of activity and where we land in that ARV. Is there anything else that kind of pops out to you on this one you would share with, I think it was Ivan.
Me?
Sorry. Yeah.
Say more, like pops out, meaning.
Well, is there any other play here? Let's say, I'm not sure where he got this lead and we're not really sure why we would be looking at it if it sold this month, but I do see potential flip activity, and I was just curious what you were thinking.
Yeah, I'll speak generally, maybe not to this house, but generally speaking, again, not necessarily just my opinion. I go off my opinion because I just know it, but I know that part of LA is very, very active. And then coming in here and looking at the data and going, aha. And if you think to yourself, okay, I want to do acquisitions. I just want to call the sellers or I want to call the agents and I just want to get one under contract. Fantastic. What's going to happen next? So this is a double-edged sword with Privy because you can go in and you can see, like we just saw, right, who some of the buyers were in there, and you start to build your buy list as well. And so that's what wholesaling is. You're flipping a contract. You're trading, right? You're trading the contract. So you can very, very easily find those LLCs that are now looking for other opportunities down the road. So I would just double down on what we just saw, but I wanted to kind of button it up. So if you feel like you got excited because there's a lot of activity in that neighborhood, well, don't forget that there's the buyers too, right? On that other end. Yeah.
And just a reminder,
I would just say for Ian, sorry, Corianne, one last thing on this one is I want to give you kudos. The whole point of us looking at high investor activity areas to start, remember we zeroed in on that big number in Inglewood, is to increase the chances that we're going to have demand for the houses that we're finding, but also that we're going to have the flipped comparables as part of our comp set that we can use to understand what the house is going to be worth, the ARV, and then help us understand what we should offer. So the fact that you targeted this area and you actually came up with a house that has 5 flips as comps is like exactly what we're trying to do. Like that makes it so easy to understand what to do with this house, as opposed to if you were looking in an area that has low investor activity. So good job looking in a high investor activity area.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Because sometimes I think this, I'm speaking more from psychology, right? Sometimes I think people, they get wowed, right? So we look at all these fun shows. Most of them are based in LA or New York, right? The Bravo $1 million listing, Selling Sunset, all that. Honestly, if you guys even watch those shows, the real estate is kind of secondary. It's a lot about, just kind of daytime, nighttime drama, because that's what sells. But the reality is that those neighborhoods, are there fixers? Are there people that are transitioning out that have lived there for 50 years? Absolutely. But there's not as many of them. So in your travels in real estate, pick a lane. If you're going to be a high-end luxury person, go be a high-end luxury person. And this is more if you're going to get your license, not so much as a wholesaler. But please do not come into any market, whatever high-end neighborhood that your market is, and expect that that's really where you make your money. Your bread and butter is based on this data. It sounds sexy to be like, oh, I'm going to sell Beverly Hills, Selling Sunset, all the things. I mean, I just basically almost did a deal in Sunset Plaza, which is where Selling Sunset is. So there are dirty fixers in Sunset Plaza, but that's once a year, twice a year. Stick in these neighborhoods. Look at the data. Be smart. You want to be a wholesaler, bread and butter, bread and butter, bread and butter, and take the money that you make from that and go buy your house in the expensive neighborhood, because that's what the wealthy people do. And they never tell you that. They buy all these little teeny weeny houses and have them all in their portfolio. And those houses make them money in their real estate equity in their portfolio. And then they spend the money to buy the bigger houses. We're only starting to hear that message very recently online, like Grant Cardone's and stuff like that. I mean, maybe in the last 5 or 7 years, but nobody ever told you that before. So stick to where the movement is, stick to where this data is, and you'll make money, and partner up with folks and just do right by the business, and it'll do right by you.
Yeah, this is exactly what we want to find is this kind of activity. It's so, so exciting. And I did catch that you almost did this one particular deal. And I already know a little bit of the story there, that you were working with a wholesaler. Can you tell us that, like briefly, what was going down there, and any tips you would now give our newbies wholesalers to do better?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter the number of zeros after it, but the stakes are higher and the commissions are bigger. And I actually was repping them as a buyer's agent, not as a wholesaler per se. And so it sounds accusatory, but it's the truth. They didn't tell me that they were potentially going to wholesale it. Wholesaling in the higher end is more challenging. There's less people. They're finicky as all get out because there's a lot of holding costs. It might take a year to a year and a half to complete a project, especially if it's hillside. And that's what this was. And I would say the takeaway is be truthful. Okay, wholesaling is a dirty word to real estate agents. They don't understand it. It gets a bad rap. The brokers don't talk about it. Bad wholesalers are abound. It is an unregulated part of the industry. We work too hard as agents to maintain and retain our name. That's all we have is our reputation. And so wholesalers willy-nilly out here writing offers, canceling offers. And that's the messaging that comes from our teachers in this space. But I'm telling you, as an agent, that to bridge the gap and to not burn bridges is to be honest about what your intent is and what you're up to. And the code word is, I'm not out to cancel contracts. I'm out to complete transactions. If you come in hot with an agent, especially a seasoned agent, you're not going to get far, because unfortunately there's too many of people out there doing unscrupulous things. And these guys are one of them. And it's rampant. It's all over the place. I don't really think intentionally they meant to do it, but they started to lose the deal and then they tried to quickly wholesale it. And, I put a lot of work and effort into this. I can't get those minutes back, and I didn't get paid. And so, this is the nature of what we signed up for, but it stings every time that happens. It stinks. And that's why agents don't want to do business with wholesalers, because they're getting things under contract or locking them up. Agents don't say lock it up. We say getting things under contract. And then you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to sell it, and then you can't sell it, and then you cancel the contract. And what happens is when you cancel the contract, we look dumb because we have to go back to our seller and say, I don't really know why they canceled the contract. They didn't even do an inspection on the property. There's no legs to stand on. You just got an idea. You woke up one day and you don't want to buy this house. That looks silly. So be forthright, be communicative. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's responsible and it's mature. Have the uncomfortable conversation. Don't act like you don't know what you're doing. Just be like, hey, this is what I'm up to. And the chips will fall where they may. Okay. If the agent doesn't want to do business with you, then maybe go and work on your skills, work on how you're communicating with people. Ask them, is there something I could have said differently that we could have got into a transaction? I think when people are forthright, people will listen to you as being forthright. But when you're shady, it's bad. And I'm telling you what, these people are on my blacklist. I'm a good person to know in this town. I get a lot of opportunities and they're not getting them from me. So know that, I'm speaking like frankly right now and I'm a bit emphatic, but I'm telling you, this is how agents think. So when you guys get those phone calls that somebody has an attitude in their tone and their voice from an agent, everything I just said is right there on that phone. So be different and do different. And I think you will be surprised you'll get a different result. I'm doing that for my own industry. Remember, I call as an investor and an agent, and I'm combating my own, comrades out here. They're pissed off. They don't want to do business with investors. So you got to fight. Okay. So be different. Anyway, thank you for letting me contribute that.
I thank you for sharing that, because I think it's a good reminder for us in the way that we approach, and a good way that we can align with agents. We're all out here doing transactions, and we don't get paid until that transaction closes. And we have to remember that when we're approaching agents to put in contracts for us, when we're bringing those numbers. And that's why you've got to have this data to be able to have those buyers in your back pocket, or have a dispo arm and somebody you can partner with to make sure that you're following through. And it sounds like in this situation, a big part of that was because they just weren't honest with you. And if they had been at the time that changed for them, where they moved over to a wholesaling model, I would almost put money on it that you would have been able to get it sold, or you would have been able to tell them what number it would sell at in that wholesaling range. So having partners discussing and working together and being honest and telling people what you're up to is what's going to get you further with, the thing that we carry is our name. That's the one thing that we got no matter what industry we're in. And we want to be able to stand on that. And I know that you have a powerful name in SoCal. And I think as we approach and we're coming into real estate, we need to remember that we're working on having a powerful name in whatever market we're working in. So be ethical, be authentic, tell them what's up.
And what you just said is a great script, guys. Rewatch this. I'm even going to, think about a new script that I might say, because our name is our bond, right? And say that to an agent and mean it, guys. Don't say it like that's something to listen to. Don't be manipulative. So if it doesn't resonate with you, don't say it. That's life. But if it resonates with you, then say that and mean it, because that's the kind of stuff that agents are listening to. Thank you, Corianne, for saying that. My name is very unusual. My last name, nobody has my last name except anybody that's related to me. And I have literally been in transactions, not necessarily wholesale transactions, but transactions where all things were equal: price, terms, everything. And I barely knew the other agent. I saw them out at brokers' opens, open houses, all of that stuff. So we nodded at each other. We had some laughs. They remembered me. That was the extent of my relationship. 2 years go by. And guess what? My purchase agreement comes across the table with another 5 of them, and all things equal. And the seller's like, what do I do? Everything's the same. It's the same prices, same terms. Who do I pick? And the agent in their brain was like, I remember this chick, Renee. She's going to get it done. And the only reason I'm telling you guys this story is because the agents have told me this story.
Yeah.
So our reputation means everything. It means everything. So please, for the love of God, while you're out here being a wholesaler, whether it's Los Angeles or, a smaller town anywhere, this is how agents think. So bring that to the conversation. And I guarantee you will, have more relationships while you're building these relationships, because you're not going to sound like every other wholesaler who's what do you have and what can I buy? I'm sorry, but that line still works and it's being overused. How are you going to be different? So
Renee, can I ask you a question? And then also wanted to see where that the answer leads. I missed the beginning. Were you the buyer's agent on that transaction?
Yeah, I was a buyer's agent. Yeah, I wasn't wholesaling it.
Okay, so you're the buyer's agent. So they came in and they weren't honest with you, and then you had to like talk with a listing agent after the fact to help explain why that contract was canceled, and that's what put you in that bad position, right?
Yeah, and also my time. The one great, equalizer is time. We all have only the same amount of time. I'm a very efficient person with my time. I do not like for it to be wasted. And one of the things I think I could have gotten ahead of is to say, guys, we're not going to go anywhere with this. We need to cancel this contract. And instead, it drug out another 2.5 weeks, albeit over the holiday season. But it was nonsense and ongoing. And thank God I actually knew the agent, because this was an extremely off-market opportunity. That's how I knew it. I knew the listing agent. Here's the thing: I knew the listing agent. He only sent it out and made phone calls to 10 agents in the whole town. I was one of them. That's the reputation. That's how I even got this thing. So now I have to save my reputation with this agent who is cool enough that I don't have to save anything. But if they weren't cool, then I might not be on that list, right? And it's like it works both ways. So yeah, I think if they had said something, all that aside, me not making a commission, whatever, that's just my ego talking, but it's time. And so if we had to cancel the contract, I would have just known, guys, this is locked up way too high. It's not going to move. It's not. There's no upside. Look at the math. Let's just be done and be gone with it. Instead, they were scrambling and trying, and they had all their money in their head and whatever fees they were putting on top of it. And listen, lastly, you can't snow the snowman, because I went to show this property and I knew they were then wholesaling it. And I was like, fine, I'll go up there and I'll show it to an investor. And guess what? That investor, a total stranger, thinking he was going to buy it, kind of like me, and was like, well, I want to do some business with you too, right? He pulls out his phone and shows me on Investor Lift that they had put the house on Investor Lift, and there was a $150,000 spread on top of the price we were never going to get. So you're wasting my time. Wow. So don't be a shady wholesaler. You know what I mean? I was more upset about that. I was more upset about my time being wasted and knowing the fact that I still wasn't going to get paid, but cut and carterize it. I'm not going to get paid. Fine. Let me move on down the road, but that's what I mean by agents being in an upset, because I got to save face with my relationship with the other agent. If it was my listing, that agent had to save face with his sellers, and then my time. So no bueno, guys. Yeah.
So many gems here. Thank you, Renee. I'm so grateful for you. And even I'll need to re-listen, because they were just dropping so fast. Guys,
amazing.
Want to see you succeed. Here at Wholesaling 101, we show up on a hump day because we want to see you get over the hump in your business. And we're bringing the tools to do that. And one of those tools is Privy, which we show you every single week. And we remind you how awesome it is. And if you don't have it, we just dropped you the code so you can get it at a discount. But I have a secret for you. And there's something that's on my heart in this last minute or two that I can have of your time. I want to tell you the other secret. Because I want to get serious, fam. Just a minute. I really struggled in this business. It was hard for me to get into wholesaling, and I have a lot of reasons for that, but I can tell you when it changed, so you can jump straight there and you can change it for yourself. It changed when I found other people. It changed when I got to work with other people and started reaching out to other people, and I got into the same rooms with those people who are making money. So I really have it on my heart that I highly suggest you find those rooms. And I know one of them, and it's coming up, and it's in April, and I'm going to be there, and Jamil's going to be there. And I would love to see you guys. I'm stocking hugs for all of you. And Squad Up Summit, it is coming April 23rd through the 25th. It's going to be in Orlando, and there's going to be so many cool people in that room. And just being in there is going to elevate for you. I remember the first time I went to an event called Tyke Summit. It was the first time I met Jamil. First time I gave him a hug, cried, because the man changed my life. And it was a hug and a cry, but he did. And even that moment of putting in my money so that I could drive to Las Vegas, really just so I could hug this guy, was pretty much my whole goal. I have worked with many people I met in that room. And I've some of them become my friends. Renee, we got to go to summer camp together. And now not only is she somebody that I send all of my SoCal deals to, but like is truly a friend in my heart who I call when things are going on in my life. So I want to invite you to the people who are going to support you, who are going to champion you, who are going to encourage you. And that's at Squat at Summit. So we've dropped the registration info there. And I haven't even told you the cool part. I'm just opening my heart. And I haven't even told you the cool part, which is if you tag Astro when you go in and you buy your ticket, you could get one of the days that Pace and Jamil is giving away to spend the day with people. And they're doing it all year, where they're inviting you to Arizona to just, it doesn't, whatever they're doing that day, you are going to be in the car with them. And I'm telling you, that's crazy cool. Like,
Yeah.
and you have that opportunity. So please tag Astro, please come to Squat Up Summit and get your hug that I have for you. And then on top of that, I'm going to be sending you awesome good vibes that you are one of the many people that are going to get to hang out with Pace and Jamil. Just easy peasy fun stuff. 50 weeks. I didn't even know it was 50 weeks. That's crazy that they have on the calendar where they're bringing people to them to just soak in their presence and elevate. And it's
Corianne, I want to mention one more thing too. Like, isn't there like a discount? Like there's like a early bird discount that's ending soon.
Yes, I'm glad you brought this up because we got to tell them all the good stuff. Right now it's $897. So, and that's going to change tomorrow.
That is so worth it, you guys. You have to be there. And I will tell you, I got a hug from Corianne in Arizona, and that alone was worth the trip. So you guys have to come. I'm going to be there too.
Yeah, more hugs.
I'll give you a hug, uncomfortably, because I got personal space issues, I think. But
gotta get in there.
I will give you a hug. So please come out. It's going to be a blast.
That sounds like so much fun. Wow.
And then Renee, for everybody who's just been soaking in your presence while you've been here, will you tell them how they can find you?
Yes. Jamil put it right in there. It's my last name is pronounced Kishi. Everybody just says Renee. It's kind of like Madonna and Cher, just Renee. My Instagram handle, you can look me up there. I'm the only person in the world, I think, that has this name. This mug will be on my Instagram, and you can get me there. And if you live in LA or you're coming to LA, one of my most favorite fun and free things to do. There's a lot of fun and free things to do. So I'm a pretty low-key gal, and I like to hike. And if you guys, this is an open invitation, hit me up on Instagram. I will go take you on a hike up to the top of Mount Lee where the Hollywood sign is. And we will look around the city, 360-degree views, and you'll be right in back of the Hollywood sign. And I am still a tourist in my own town. I get so thrilled and excited every time I do it. So if you're into walking or hiking, that is an open invitation. We'll talk all things real estate on the way up there. It's about a 35-40-minute hike. So put those shoes on, bring your water, and let's solve some problems. And let's be, a solution for people and do right. So I look forward to just hanging out with you guys. It's so fun. Thank you for having me.
Not only are we telling you about an opportunity to hang out with Pace and Jamil, we're telling you about an opportunity to hang out with Renee Keshi. Did I say it right that time? Keshi?
Kishi, yeah, whatever.
Kishi.
Yes, Renee. Yes.
Like Kishis. Okay, guys, there's so much goodness in this community with these people. Thank you for showing up today. I hope I get to see you next week, the week after that, and especially in person at the Squat Up Summit. Thank you, Benson, for your time. Renee, you guys are the
Thanks,
best.
everybody. Thank you for listening.
Renee.
I appreciate everyone. Bye, Benson.
Amazing.
Bye, Corianne. Yeah, I love you guys. Be well.
Bye.